Hello and welcome to Companion to the work we're doing at New Wales. Over the last 18 weeks, I've spoken with many interesting guests, all of whom have got a vision for where they would like to see Wales in the future. They have grand ambitions for Wales in the next 15 to 20 years, but we all have to work together in order to make that happen. There is an agreement that we need to move further, and I think most of my guests have agreed that a fully proportional system for the Senedd, including a single transferable vote, which is very commonly used across most of the world now, would be the best direction for full representation in the Senedd. Majority of my guests have agreed that the expansion from 60 to 96 members of the Senedd is a good thing for democracy in Wales. And the majority of my guests have also agreed that the 22 councils and health authorities across Wales are too many and need to be looked at and reformed or even abolished. There seems to be an agreement that there's a place for citizens' assemblies and some method of feeding back policy ideas that come out from people. That would help engender a greater community incentive to be involved in those ideas. Obviously, New Wales is intended to be an educational grouping of people. We have come together because there is a feeling that there's a dearth of information that's relevant to people's lives in Wales. Data is very difficult to get to and get at. Most of that data that we have about Wales is, of course, collated in association with England. Further, we talked with people about the need for economic and entrepreneurial spirit in Wales, which is there, but unfortunately doesn't have the full support of, well, not just institutions, not just government structures, but it doesn't have and this is imbued through all the conversations, and I think through a lot of people's frustrations who have ambitions and desires to see Wales do better for itself, is there isn't the belief from a general population that things can be done, or that people can achieve great things within Wales. And it's certainly one of the things that frustrate me personally. It's one of the things I really love about places that I've worked and lived, such as Colombia and Bolivia, West Africa, Sierra Leone, where people wake up and they just have an idea and they go out and do it. So I think there needs to be a bit more of engendering that spirit of can do in Wales, indeed across the whole United Kingdom. New Wales is here as a place to have conversation. There are some in Wales who see independence as a future for Wales and something that's desirable, and I've interviewed many of those. Unfortunately, a lot of the individuals that are more in favour of the United Kingdom and more unionist have refused to come onto the podcast, Blueprint Cymru. But of course, there could be a future in the United Kingdom for Wales, but as the Independent Mission on the Constitutional Future of Wales pointed out, it isn't the status quo. Something has to change. So whether Wales stays a full member of the United Kingdom, there still needs to be changes. There still needs to be an element of more dilution, certainly over policing and justice, certainly over more tax powers. There's obviously the bit in the middle, which is a federal system. There's, as I understand it, there's only one party really in the United Kingdom that's looking for that. And there are pluses and minuses to federalising the United Kingdom. I think the biggest plus is obviously it gives a lot of autonomy to the four nations as to how they run their own affairs and allows them to diverge on economic, tax, potentially legal structures. Obviously, the downside for Wales, it being just over 3 million in population, and a relatively small economy compared to its neighbour England, which is 55 million people, and a much larger economy, is that that relationship within a federalised system could never be equal, as I see it, unless some preferential voting structure is put in place for Wales, which of course would be massively unjust for citizens of England. Further, in the Blueprint Cymru podcast, we have talked to people about the ideas of having free ports in certain parts of Wales, a suggestion that making Anglesey into an offshore banking hub. In a more recent episode, I think it's episode 17, I spoke to Lembit Opik, a one-time Liberal Democrat MP in Montgomeryshire. He's now a member of Reform UK, and he spoke a lot of regaining Britishness and British values. Did push back on that and suggest to him that most people in Wales see themselves primarily as Welsh. That's also true, I think, of a lot of the diaspora that are out in the world, such as myself. And certainly when you've had exposure to other places and other people's views of the term British, but British and Britishness tends to be seen outside of the United Kingdom as a very negative word, associated with dominance and colonialism. And certainly from my times in West Africa, here in Quebec, where I live most of the time, the thought of Britishness and the monarch conjures up very bad feeling and bad historical memories of forced economic structures and forced language, having English forced upon people. As we go forward moving towards the Senedd elections in May 2026, New Wales has just launched its Senedd 2026 hub on its website. There we are collating all of the candidates and information about the new super constituencies, which will be electing 6 members per constituency. So if you want to find out about your constituency, which ones you're in, the name of it, who candidates are for the different parties, obviously there's a list system, the DeHont list system. So we're electing 6 people, proportional voting to a point, rather depends on turnout. So hopefully everyone's going to get out, cast the vote, and make that a meaningful new stage for the Senedd. It's currently looking like it will definitely be anybody other than Labour. Well, I say anybody, Plaid Cymru or Reform UK, that form the government of Wales. As part of that, I'm going to be drawing Blueprint Cymru Series 1 to a close with this episode, and focusing on talking with the candidates that want to talk. Going to give them 10-15 minutes to put their ideas, their policies themselves across to everybody, help you make decisions as to who you might like as a party, who they've got. Obviously, the new list system means you'll be voting for a party rather than an individual, but it's good to know who those individuals are and how they rank in that system. So again, looking at New Wales website to see that. And I'll be asking all the candidates the same questions to make it as fair and meaningful to everybody as we can. Do check out the other podcasts that we've recorded for Blueprint Cymru over the last 18 weeks. There's some great gems of insight in those conversations that I recommend people take time to listen to. And don't forget that we are all volunteers wanting the best for Wales, trying to be equal in how we and fair in how we discuss subjects and different political perspectives on life in Wales and the future of Wales. We've been funding this entirely from our own pockets. So if you'd like to help us both with getting involved and especially donating money to help us make videos and material, we have a donor box account, which we'd love you to contribute to. Again, you can find out all the information on the website, which is new.wales.